Welcome back to U.S. Farm Report here at Kansas State University. Excited. It's homecoming week, and we have a great group of students joining us for our live taping, so thank you, all of you. We have Parker Vulgamore, Lonnie Hobbs, as well as Glynn Tonsor joining us for our panel this weekend. Glynn, we'll start with you, because right now, when we're heading into the election, a lot of talk about recession, a lot of talk, are we in recession or not, inflation impact on consumers, but you've been studying that. So when you look at meat demand today, are we seeing consumers shy away from the meat counter just due to the simple fact we are seeing inflation take hold?
So the short answer is yes, we're seeing consumer behavior change. It's easy to get caught up in the discussion and definition of a recession. I encourage us to hone in on, is consumer behavior changing? The way you phrased the question, I think that's the right way. And price sensitivity, consumers are responding to price stronger than they were a year or two ago. And I think that's because real wages have declined. And when I say real wages, the cost of living has gone up more than what people are making. So there's a price squeeze, or the financial belt is being tightened in a lot of households. And meat protein is one of several categories where we're seeing evidence that consumers are tightening their decisions. We're seeing some trading down within the protein complex. Think going from a bacon product to a ham product, or from a ribeye steak to a sirloin steak. There's a lot of examples like that. But the Meat Demand Monitor Project at K-State gives us a lot of points on that. And the short answer is yes, we're seeing a lot of change.
But Glenn, in the past, it's been some of it trading from, maybe some steak to maybe chicken. But we see double-digit price increases on all levels. So are we seeing them change what protein they buy specifically?
Yeah, so the double-digit price change is a function of several things, and we're going to talk supply chain here in a minute. But when costs are going up, that pushes prices up. When demand is strong, it pulls prices up. Yeah. Both have, over the last couple of years, pulled and pushed prices higher, and we got to be careful to not just assume it's a supply or demand component, because there's both at play. Your question about the response to inflation largely is consumers having a net pay decline and they're tightening their belt, but that's a demand statement, not a supply side statement.
Well, Lonnie, let's talk about supply chain, because I know we have to look at it, the consumer side of the supply chain and then the ag side of the supply chain. Two separate entities there that we have to look at, but are we making any headway when it comes to some of these supply chain issues in ag or the consumer side?
I would say so. In ag, as Glynn said, we're seeing a price increase, which is good for the farmers. But in terms of the consumer side, these driving prices, as Glynn said, is altering the demand itself. But in terms of the supply chain, we're seeing these rising prices because of a variety of factors, such as rising transportation costs, rising cost of ingredients, rising cost of the processing that goes along with a lot of these products. So we are seeing rising prices in all areas that, as I said, can be good for the farmer, but in terms of consumers, may alter some of their purchasing decisions.
When you look at transportation as far as the supply chain, we have low river levels. That's still an issue. We have rail, a possible strike looming. I mean, when you look at supply chain, it doesn't seem like we're going to see this go away anytime soon. Do you have a timeline on how long farmers will maybe have to deal with some of these supply chain headaches?
In the short term, I would say no. I would see this going on into the next year. I think over time things will get better, especially as the labor force begins to pick up. But I do think that this is something that farmers should be aware of moving into the new year.
Another thing we're keeping our eye on, Parker, when it comes to looking at this next election, inflation may impact some election decisions. Talking about a looming recession, supply chain, but also from the ag side, we're looking at Farm Bill. And so I know you were in D.C. this summer. When you look at discussions of Farm Bill, what is the hot topic? What is the priority specifically for agriculture when we look at this next Farm Bill?
Now, as it comes to the Farm Bill, of course, inflation is driving a lot of conversations, but there's a lot of discussion taking place now about leading into the election of how we're going to balance some of the different priorities within the Farm Bill. So looking at conservation programs, the conservation title of the Farm Bill has grown significantly. It's a major priority under the President Biden administration. So a lot of agricultural producers and their respective advocacy groups are looking at how can we ensure that we improve the sustainability, yet still improve productivity of agriculture. So I think it's the idea that productivity and sustainability are not necessarily mutually exclusive. And that's where the role of the federal government could come in and help support some of those new policy changes with subsidies and things like that through the Farm Bill program.
All right, some really good insight. Thank you all. All right, we need to take a quick break, but we have a lot more to talk about. We'll do that when we come back on U.S. Farm Report.
U.S. Farm Report weather is brought to you by H&S Manufacturing. The new Loadmaster 2X harvesting dual box dump cart is capable of lifting and dumping up to 60,000 pounds of product and filling 36 or 40-foot semi-trailers in just one dump. Find out more at the H&S website.